Well, those of you who survived and waited for this, you're going to hear an important, very important discussion. And my name's Tony Sciarotta. I'm proud to be here with Chris Woodbury from Best Buy. And we're going to help you know ways to leave here and make a difference to your company and be a hero. And it is really fun being a hero, right, Chris?
Yes, it is.
Go.
All right. We'll do a quick introduction here, maybe is the best place to start. First, how's everyone doing this afternoon? You hanging in there? Oh, good.
All right.
Well, thanks for spending the time with us here this afternoon. As Tony said, my name is Chris Woodbury. I have responsibility at Best Buy for something we call reverse secondary markets. What that means to Best Buy is kind of three different things. One, our team has responsibility and accountability for return prevention and damage reduction, right? So ensuring that we're not taking products back when we don't have to and make sure that we're not damaging them when we don't have to as well. In addition, our team has responsibility for operations. So when that product does come back and we refurbish it, that is something that our team does. It gets it ready back for resale. And then our team is also responsible for the resale product. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a background on myself and kind of what we're doing there. And I think we might even want to call this the returns opportunity as I'm relooking at the title of the returns dilemma, because it clearly is a big opportunity for retailers.
Hello? Oh, there we go. All right. Chris is right. It's really an opportunity. And I believe, how many of you are manufacturers or retailers? Can we have a couple of hands go up? All right. This is how you get to be a hero. I worked for Sony for 5 years and then Philips for 25 years. I was a really happy-go-lucky sales guy. You know, those people, right? They win the trips. They get to do all the awards. All that kind of stuff was really cool. Then one day, Philips management said, Tony, go fix the returns problem. So here's some numbers for you. We were a $2 billion company in North America, consumer electronics, a 12% returns rate. Why? Because we sold through the big box retailers who take anything back at any time. No holds barred. Does that sound familiar? Maybe a little bit like e-commerce? All right. So that was in the year 2000. I got that number down from 12% to 4% within 5 years. Unfortunately, I didn't negotiate a commission program, because if you do the math, I would have retired at that point in my life, okay? So when we talk about the opportunity, you can walk out of here and make a bigger difference at your company by doing something with returns than if you increase sales by $40 or $50 million. So that's what we're here to talk about. And I guess, Chris, we'll go to the next slide. This is just a slide that's on the RLA website, and it is rla.org. So you can take a picture or you can go to the website and take a look. We're talking, about the ecosystem. And maybe some of you heard earlier my mention about the fact that we've moved from being a linear economy of take, make, break, and throw away to a circular economy. Take, make it, and turn it into something, and then get it back and do something else with it. So that's the ecosystem. Some of the things you can do with the returns, of course, putting them on the shelf, putting them into a refurb system, putting them into the secondary market. And 5 years ago, I would have bragged about recycling, but now that's a bad word. Recycling is not a good thing to do. It actually takes more energy to recycle products than to make them new. And so if you're financially driven, you're just going to throw things away rather than trying to do something with that material. So the ecosystem is very important. This is our show of it. And again, it's on our website. Next slide is, the numbers are enormous, folks, enormous. The last report, and we are the Reverse Logistics Association is a division of the National Retail Federation. So I mentioned earlier, in the United States, North America market alone, retailers report over $743 billion in returns. That number is humongous. And I gave you an example, 12% returns on a $2 billion company is not livable. By the way, 2023 was an estimate. 2022, which is a bigger number, 816 billion, that was based on actual numbers. So we know that 2024 is going to be a higher number, folks, because e-commerce is driving a lot of this. But just think of that enormity. That's a larger number than our country spends on defense in this world. So the numbers are enormous. Another show of hands. Has anyone been in a return center? Anybody here at all ever been in a return center? Okay, just a couple of you. Let's go to the pictures. That's what it looks like, folks. It's an enormous mess. And I look at that and I don't think of it as being a mess. What I think about is those are unhappy customers. Unhappy customers who may or may not ever buy from you again because of their experience. And what you're left with is that mess. On the one side, it almost looks semi-organized. Those are the cartons going through a processing center, but it is very expensive to handle returns. So we're not here to tell you about how much money you can make in returns. We're here to tell you about customer satisfaction and how the lack of it, the customer experience, is incredibly valuable to driving satisfaction, less returns. And at this point, I'm going to let Chris say a few words about how Best Buy has been incredibly successful at this. They've been at it for over 30, 40 years, and they've survived. Others have not. So we'll just say that's an important factor about the next part of the discussion. Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you, Tony. All right. So for those that maybe are not from the States or from Canada, may not be familiar with Best Buy. So just a quick overview. We're out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. We've got about 85,000 employees. We've got about 900 stores in the United States and about 100 in Canada. And I think one point on there, more than 20 years in technology services. I'll explain in a moment why that's so important and what's the differentiator for us at Best Buy to solve the returns dilemma / opportunity. So we'll just jump right in. I'll share a little bit about how the returns flow works at Best Buy so that you have a grounding on what I'll be talking about. So there's kind of three buckets of work as we describe return flow at Best Buy. The first is described as intake. That's the point that product comes back. The second is described as like the processing of it. That's once you have it, you have to figure out what to do with it next, how to grade it, where it should go, what it means to you at that point, because it's not new inventory and it needs to be going somewhere. The third bucket is the resale bucket, and that's something that we do a lot of where we turn around and sell it. So on the intake side, there's just a few components there that are kind of unique to Best Buy. So one, product can come back directly out of a customer's home. So we sell appliances and TVs, and to return product, we actually have to go out to the home, pick it up, and bring it back. We also have online return centers if someone wants to mail it in. We have the ability to return it in a store. From an intake perspective, let's move to the next one. From a processing perspective, there's a few different things that we're going to do there. One is when the product comes in, the first place that it comes in is typically the store. So we have the most amount of returns coming in through the store. When it comes in, we take it through an assessment process in what's called our Geek Squad precinct. So they look at it and they say, is this first open or closed product? If it's closed, you can resell it as new, right? It's never been used by the customer. However, if it's come back and that box has been open, that's where we need to do some testing on it. So if it's an electronic, typically it has customer data on it. So first we have to make sure that the data is wiped, because we don't want to say, oh, everything looks great with it, had all the required accessories that came with it, put it on the shelf, and the data is still on it. That's a problem. So we do things like that. We assess the conditions that in. At times it's not in appropriate condition, or the work that the product needs to have done to it needs to be more specialized. And so we've got 17 service depots where we do repair. That's also where the appliances come back, where we'll bang out dents, or maybe on a TV, replace the motherboard, those types of things. We also have a return processing center where product that gets sent back to the vendor, in some cases, that's where that goes as well. And then finally, there's a resale. And so when you decide where it needs to go at the end of all of these activities that are happening, it's going into a channel to be resold, because you want to be able to recover as much profit as you can from that product. So we have things like our stores, we have outlets, we have online, our primary resale channels. We also have a liquidation site called Tech Liquidators. We'll work with third parties along the way. And then at the very end, if we have nothing else we can do with it, it is recycling. And to Tony's point, that is not where we want product to go, because to participate in the circular economy, you need to make sure that it's getting out there and creating value. There's two quick things I'll mention that make us kind of unique, that if you're investigating returns from other companies, this might be a little bit different. One is we have Geek Squad. And so in all of the stores and in these facilities, we have agents that are trained in how to repair, fix. They're called geeks that will help improve this product. That allows us to shorten the turnaround time as much as possible. So because we have that stuff coming back through the store and someone can look at it in the store, we could have it back out on the shelf within 24 hours if we deem it resaleable. The other thing is we have a membership program that's a little unique for Best Buy as well. And in our top two tiers of the membership program, one, we offer extended returns of up to 60 days, which is a huge benefit to our customers, and one of the most important things that they say about our membership program. And then from a returns prevention, this gets into the opportunity. We have tech support 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because in a lot of cases with technology, it may not have worked the way that you thought, or you had gotten it home. And it could be something that could be solved over the phone.
And Chris, that's so important to talk about for a moment here. We talk about the returns numbers. I put up there 743 billion. Let's talk percentage. We're approaching 20% of products being sold are coming back. 1 out of every 5 product is coming back. And what's worse is probably 95 to 98% of those products, there is nothing wrong with them. So we're moving a lot of air. We are horrible at a carbon footprint when it comes to returns. And what Best Buy does, that you heard Chris describe, is they reduce the carbon footprint because they keep it in the store. They do something with it there. There's usually nothing wrong with it. The number one reason for returns, number one reason, and this is a trick question, folks, because I did this at Walmart. Walmart has reason codes on a returns register. We would rotate them and see what would happen. It wouldn't matter. Whatever was the number one button key was the number one reason for return. It could be defective. It could be it didn't fit. It could be didn't want it anymore, didn't fit in the home. Anything you put as number one is what came out. So reason codes are suspect to begin with. But as Chris pointed out, the advantage of a Geek Squad counter is someone can help you. And we're forgetting about that experience. The other important aspect here, the reason e-commerce is so huge, look at us all here. We are gathered together. We get to shake hands. We get to see each other. We get to touch each other. Friendly hugs, unfriendly hugs, whatever it is. It's a three-dimensional experience. What is it like when you shop online? Is it anything like being in person? Not at all. You don't know how the material is going to fit. You don't know how the remote control is going to fit in your hand. You don't know how it's going to fit in a room. You're not touching it. It's a two-dimensional experience, and that's driven the returns rate through the roof. We know they exceed 20%. And let's not even get into, because we're focused on more of the consumer experience, but the bracketing aspect of those of you who've bought clothes online and maybe bought a size bigger, bought a size smaller. Yes, I see heads shaking. We've all been through that, right? And that's the nightmare. And finally, we are a culture of entitlement. We all believe we should order online anything we want, anytime, and return it anytime we want to, and it shouldn't cost us a dime. And that's what we've become, a country of entitlement, and it's driving returns rates through the roof. And again, back to Chris, because the focus here is what they've done to make a difference. So go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, so I'm going to go a little quick through this one and jump to the next slide right after this, because I do want to really take some time and focus on what made a difference. But we do have, Tony was mentioning this in a previous session that he was leading, where we have buy online, return in store. And so we try to make it really convenient for customers through our Best Buy app. And then keep in mind, like, we're talking technology. So when people typically buy a computer, it's not like clothing. They don't buy 5 different computers and see which one they like the best. they do a lot of time to pick out the one that matters to them and that they think is right. And if they're returning it, they're probably unhappy. It might have been because there's something wrong online. It might have been because they don't know how to use it. And so to make it convenient, in addition to a lot of the technology that you'd have through the phone and all the scanning things that we offer, is when you get in store, we do have that Geek Squad agent that can ask you, well, talk to us about this product. Why isn't it working for you? They might be able to solve it on the spot and reduce that stress. I'm going to jump to the next one to talk about this a little bit, because I think this gets into Tony's point, what we're doing to help reduce it. There's kind of three main buckets that we focus on in this space. One is enterprise data. You've heard a ton at this conference about AI, and I've got some cool examples I might share at the very end on what we do. But the value of data is incredibly important. In the return space, don't think just about that data that you're getting at the POS register. So think about all areas of data that can be leveraged for your organization to make better decisions and change the process. So what I mean by that is, we look at things like customer comments online, and that's where we use AI and the ML model to help us really dissect that. Take data from your supply chain. What's happening with damage rates? What's happening with transportation? Take data from your repair or from your 3PLs if you're using those. What are they working on the most? What are they seeing the most? And bring that into your environment. The second thing is, make your partner with your manufacturers and your vendor partners to share that data. We don't sell it to them, any of that. Whatever we have is theirs. And we turn that into actionable outcomes, and we partner with our manufacturers to help them make a better product for our customers, to help them reduce damage because maybe they don't have the right type of packaging, to help them use the right carrier because maybe one carrier has a higher damage rate than another. So trying to be that smart friend. And then finally, from a returns perspective, make sure that it is an enterprise strategy and that people are bought in. It can't just be one part of the organization, because if you're going to make an assortment decision to take something out, you're going to need your category and buying teams to have your back and go to this vendor and say, your return rate is far too high. This can't be in the assortment. It's not good for our customers. As an example.
Yeah. Let's take that one too, Chris.
Yeah. So this is probably where I'll finish up, and then I want to make sure Tony's got some closing remarks. But there are kind of two things that we're doing right now, and they are both with AI that are definitely changing the future of how we look at returns. The first is online through our Best Buy customer care. So when something goes wrong and you call in, we're using AI as part of the chat to serve up relevant information back to the customer. When you're talking to someone online, what's happening is our AI is reading the sentiment as you're describing what's going on and talking about the product, and it's immediately serving up frequently asked questions, information on what could be going wrong, troubleshooting to the agent, because we sell tens of thousands of products. You can't expect an agent to know everything about everything. And so serve that up real time so we can be a smarter friend. And then finally, using the Microsoft Copilot, it's recapping the calls so that you don't have someone after they get off a call has to spend 15 minutes loading into your CRM system. Instead, it's summarizing it for them. The other big thing that we're doing is directly within our team using an AI and ML model to take all that data that I described earlier and basically categorize it, understand sentiment, and help us focus on the areas that matter most, where we can make the biggest impact. Before we had AI, we would do this and feed it to an ML model, and it would take us 6 months to do one category. At the end of 6 months, how much you might have 2 or 3 things that you want to go after, and you have 6 months of disappointed customers. So instead, what took one person 6 months is taking that same person a couple days as the model gets trained out, and then immediately we can focus. And what that means is you find areas of opportunity where something has gone wrong, and you partner with the manufacturer to get it fixed upstream. I have countless pictures of changes that we've made to packaging. We've changed one of our computing manufacturers, we found out was overheating, had a huge return rate. we found out through all of our data, if we just add some more thermal paste, if the manufacturer, just added some more thermal paste to the processor, that wouldn't be a problem. And lo and behold, our return rates dropped in half. So using all of this data, making sense of it, and really making sure it's scrubbed for accuracy, and then leaning into what can we do better for the customer with this product, with the packaging, through their experience, it really does make a difference. And when we do that, we have quantifiable return rate reductions. And to Tony's point, small reductions in return rate are worth a lot to the bottom line of an organization.
Completely. And just to add to that again, how can you do something at the front? Because most retail returns are due to unmet expectations. That's your fault as a retailer and a manufacturer that you promoted a product to make people think it would do something. When it shows up at their door, it didn't do what you told them it would do. We learned that the hard way at Philips. And we also learned something else the hard way at Philips. You have to think about your audience, all right? Another trick question. The reading level in the United States, think about this. When you're offering products, when you're offering instructions, when you're trying to sell computers, and you use very complicated instructions in 12 font size instructions in 12 languages in the book, we were getting a lot of clock radios back. You can't have a simpler product than a clock radio. Why were we getting a lot back? Again, the reading level in the United States. Anyone want to take a guess at that? Raise your hand if you think it's like an 8th grade level. Oh, smart audience. 7th grade? This is where you can find academics being very useful, because Penn State will tell you the reading level of the average American these days has dropped below 6%. And if you think about it, when you go to restaurants like we've been discussing, Waffle House and Big Boys and places like that, the number one selling item is always the one with the biggest picture. And that's what you have to think about when you're selling products. That's what people respond to. They don't want complicated instructions, or they're not going to be happy. So our goal here was to tell you how to make people happy, how to make them feel good about what they're buying, how to make it so that they can use it easily, because that can also help drive returns down. And then we're so proud of companies like Best Buy who have the Geek Squad and really focus on how to take care of people if they do have a return. So it is worth millions of dollars to your company. Again, take a 12% returns rate, drop it in half, and do the math. It's huge. So we hope to share that. And is there one last slide?
There is, and I think we're at time here. So here's what I will leave everyone with. Just thank you so much for sticking with us, spending time with Tony and I. If you have questions, come see us afterwards. Otherwise, please fly safe home to your home cities. So thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Tony and Chris. Frictionless returns, that's what it's about. Well, we're wrapping up. It's been an honor to spend time with all of you, and I really hope that you'll be back again. There's dates on the book for next October, the 29th and 30th here in Vegas. And thank you to Team Deliver. It's been a great time.